Do what you love to do. And I've always been a big believer that if you do what you love, the money will follow.
Hey, it's Mark Yegge, wealth architect, author, and founder of Light Circle. Wealth isn't just about money, it's about balanced abundance in your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your soul. Let's take your life to the next level and build your dreams into reality. Welcome to the Wealth Architect Podcast.
Today, we have a transformational life and career coach dedicated to helping corporate professionals design and live lives they genuinely love. Our guest today is the visionary behind Coaching by Susanna, and she also is a fellow podcaster called On Being You with Susanna. She's recently launched wellness retreats designed to empower individuals in crafting their ideal lives. Let's give it up for Susanna Kenyon Muir. Susanna, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am so well. Thank you, Mark. It's so nice to be on your show, especially after speaking with you and interviewing you. Well, it was like a week ago. So good to be here.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. You know, one of the things that I know that you love to do, and this is the Wealth Architect Podcast, and what I try to say is that it's not wealth as in it's always about money. It's wealth as in a holistic approach to all the assets and aspects of your life. So, that's one of your specialties. You're like this person that brings magnetically the things that you want to attract into your life as far as abundance, as far as wealth. So let's talk about that. Tell us a little bit about, from your words, what you kind of do and how you help people. And then I want to hear about how you got into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So I'm a life and career coach, and I help people create their most magnetic life aligned to who they are. And I'm a big believer that you can create and design your life and have anything that you want. It's getting clarity into what that is and working through anything that's holding you back. Now, I came from the corporate space. I was working in corporate IT and tech for the last 17 years around the globe. And I had an amazing career, but I always felt that there was more purpose in my life and more that I wanted to do and create. And I guess that was where I started to get curious about what I wanted my life to look like. And I felt like there was more desire inside of me than just, living the 9 to 5, working paycheck to paycheck. And that I remember so clearly in my mid-20s being at a friend's house, and she was married to a neurosurgeon. And I remember thinking, wow, it's so clear for certain people as to what their purpose and path is. But to me, that was not clear. And so that started me on my journey of figuring out, okay, what am I really passionate about? What do I love to do? And I guess long story short, I moved to London when I was in my early 30s and came across my first coach, was so inspired. And I remember it was so funny because I always thought I was a very self-aware person, but I realized that I was aware of my surroundings and not myself. And it was through working with her that I started to go on this journey of self-discovery and figuring out, what my passions were, who I was, but also a lot of my patterns, things that were holding me back, like being a victim, struggling with vulnerability and patterns in relationships that kept sort of popping up. And that started my path. And then I started studying it more, and I started coaching people, by chance at one of the companies that I worked for. And that was really, the beginning of my journey of getting me into coaching. And then at the beginning of this year, I took the leap of faith and moved full time into this. So, yeah.
Wow. Why should people have a coach? Like, should everybody have a coach?
That's a really good question. I always compare it to the analogy, sports people have a coach in their chosen sports profession, right? And you have a coach to become better in basketball, football, tennis, whatever it is. So if you're wanting to become better in a certain part of your life, whether it's in business or you're looking at making a change in your career, then having someone that can hold up a mirror and help you look inwards, but also challenge you and help you identify what your goals are and also stretch you and help you keep accountable. To me, that's the purpose of having a coach.
Hmm.
And there are many different ways to approach coaching. There's so many different modalities, and they're like, I'm sure, your audience would agree, there are many different types of coaches out there. So you have to find a coach that you connect with, because rapport and the chemistry that you have with your coach is so important. But also find someone that, can help you in your particular area and what you're trying to change.
Hi, I'm Mark Yegge. Every new year brings hope, but have you ever made those resolutions and by February they're out the window? Yeah, me too. This coming January 13th and 14th, join me at Your Greatest Year. It's an online summit dedicated to setting you on a path to transformation, abundance, and growth. Make your resolutions a reality. Let's create magic together in 2024. Make 2024 your greatest year.
To register, go to 2024yourgreatestyear.com.
Nice. I agree. I think mentorship and coaching is so critical, and it certainly helped me in a lot of areas in my life, and continues to do so. And I think, whether you have a peer group, helping you be accountable, or if you have somebody that's done it and been there before, helping you be accountable, we can't do it all our own, right? We have to have some help from other people, and especially if they've been there. I like people that have been there before doing the coaching for us, but people that are also in touch with different, like you said, modalities to be able to take us through things that we've never even seen. So I'm gonna throw one out at you here, put you on the spot. Take us through like a success story that you've had with some coaching, obviously leaving the names out, but maybe give us like a little background and tell us how that worked, where they started, kind of what you did and how they came through the other side.
Yeah. I guess one of my current clients, she came to me with a desire to change her career path. And I mean, this happens to me often, where I get into a conversation with people who are in their current, job, and they don't necessarily love it. There might be something that is, for example, with this lady, she got demoted, and she's been with the company for 9 years. She felt undervalued. And, in her mind, she was thinking, okay, well, I'm turning 40. I've given my life and soul to this company for the last 9 years. And now I suddenly feel like I'm not being valued. I'm demoted. Like, what am I doing with my life? And I think this can happen often, especially at critical milestones in your life, turning 40, 50, whatever it is. And so she just said, look, I want to put myself first and invest in me. And, I've never invested in myself before. So this is a big leap of faith. So the transformation that we've been through is, initially it was, does she want to go and move in and set up her own business? And she was looking at potentially setting up a coffee cart business, and thought, oh, I love making coffee, so maybe I'll start with that. But which is cool. But where we got to, and really like working through what is the problem and the area that you really want to solve for, and where do you want to get to, was a lot around self-worth, but also stepping into her girl boss kind of attitude and asking for what she wants. And the transformation is that now she's decided to stay with the company. She's got, some personal things that she's also working through, but decided to stay with the company, and has asked for everything that she wants: the title, the salary, the roles, a team, and got it. And
Wow.
Her, it's not just that result, it's how she feels now.
Sure. Yep.
And that to me is a big part of what I try to help people with and inspire people with, because when you change your inner state and the feeling and your energy, so many things around you automatically will start to fall into place. And that happens on a subconscious level. So that's the cool part. So yeah,
right.
That's an example.
And why couldn't she have just figured that out on her own? Why did she need you?
Good question. So you can definitely try to do things on your own, but I'm sure if you've ever tried to do something on your own, it's harder, it takes more time, or at some point you might give up. I'll give an example, like with going to the gym or trying to reach a certain physical goal. I think this is probably the most common example where you think, okay, I want to like lose 5 kilos, and start of the year, you get up, you're like, yes, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to get active. And, you get into a rhythm, and then like slowly you kind of like subside, and, the energy and motivation, dwindles. Whereas if you have a coach like a trainer, for example, and someone that understands your goal, and I think having a goal is so important, or knowing what that vision and intention is, and then having regular checkpoints, clear milestones, and helping to identify also the mindset. So I think the mindset side of things is so important when you're trying to make a change in your life, because if you've got some sort of fear or limiting belief, or you don't think you can do it, or you keep telling yourself this is too hard, it's going to be really difficult to make that change. But I think a really good coach can help you identify that and work through that, reprogram, reframe those beliefs to more positive intentions.
How do you make it stick, right? Like, we can make some changes. We can lose the 5 kilos, which is 11 pounds, by the way, everybody in the US. It's, and as long as we don't go into Celsius and Fahrenheit, we're probably good. But, you lose the weight, and then how do you sustain that new identity? How do you lock that in? Do you use techniques and tools like NLP, hypnosis, any of those kinds of things? Or do you, tell me what you do. Rather than me asking you, why don't you just...
I think there are a couple of things. So yes, there are different modalities or approaches that one can use. So with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, you can identify where that pattern initially came from, where that limiting belief stemmed from, and you can bring them back to their earliest time and where, or event when that occurred, and help them. And you can there's a process called timelining, where you take them to that first instance, and you work through that and help them almost like swish and remove that belief, and reprogram that to a more positive belief of, yes, that you can do that. So there are multiple ways that you can do that. So with NLP, you mentioned hypnosis, through meditation and reprogramming when you're in your subconscious. But then there are other things like creating habits and rhythms. There's a great book that you might have heard of, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and he talks about the concept of habit stacking. And I love this because one of the things, when you wake up, I think for me at least, one of the most easiest way for me to create habits and create change is in the morning. So I love to have morning routines. Not everyone's a morning person. You might be an afternoon or evening person. But I love starting my day with some sort of form of exercise, journaling, or meditation, and filling my body with something nutritious. And to me, that sets me up for the day. I also love to set intentions for the day or week. And that helps me create habits. It creates momentum, and it helps me drive change. So those are a couple of different ways. So you've got kind of like the big picture.
Yeah, no, that's great. So let me time out here for a second. For everybody that's listening and watching, this sounds a little woo-woo, right? But she's also telling you there's some science here, a book by James Clear called Atomic Habits, and some other things that she's weaving in here. Neuro-linguistic programming is a proven science on how you can talk to yourself and get results and program those results into your future self, which sounds woo-woo, I know. But when you sit down, let me bridge the gap here on the woo-woo stuff, all right? Ray Dalio, who's the most successful hedge fund manager called Bridgewater Capital, he's just retired last year. But Ray Dalio, when you listen to what he says the number one thing that made him the most successful hedge fund manager in the last 30 years is meditation. So you can woo-woo this stuff all you want, but there's science that backs all this stuff up. So you know what? The world's actually intertwined. So it depends on what angle you come from, but at the end, we're all going for the same thing, right? We're trying to get to the same result. Whatever programming it is, a lot of people pray, some people do meditation, some people set goals, right? But all these things kind of go down the alley and get us down to the bowling pins. I don't know where that analogy came from, but I'm going to go with it. And I think that's what we want, is we want the result. So how do we get there? Well, we have approaches. Sounds like yours kind of bridge both sides, which is awesome. And there's validity to both sides. So that was my little timeout thing on that. And so what can go wrong?
What can go wrong with which part?
Well, I mean, can people decide to get involved in trying to solve their problems and actually go backwards?
Yeah. So at the end, that's an interesting question, because when you're working with a client and someone comes to you with, hey, I want to make a change in my life, which, by the way, this is another thing. You cannot coach someone that doesn't want to be coached.
That's right.
You have to have, in my opinion, a growth mindset. And so people who, are kind of fixed mindset and don't want to make a change, like, they're not your ideal, client or person that wants to make a change. But if you do have a growth mindset and you tend to be someone that is interested in personal growth, you're interested in developing yourself in some way, shape, or form, whether it's financially, whether it's physically, mentally, however, then there's a higher chance that you will make a change. The caveat that I will say, though, is that life happens, right? And things happen. Yes. And the thing with coaching is you might be coaching someone on finances, but if they've got something going on in their personal life that causes a major disruption, it's going to be really hard for them to make a change. And I'll give a prime example. I'm working with someone at the moment who wants to focus on their business and move countries and make a pretty radical change in his life. But he's, this came out in a recent coaching conversation, he's got a lot going on in his personal life with his marriage, and that's holding everything else back.
Sure.
So being able to listen and understand and identify other areas within a person's life that could be holding them back can help you then to kind of work through, the bigger goal and picture. But yes, absolutely. And to answer your question, I guess, more fully, there can be instances where you can't help someone, or maybe that they might need a different type of support or therapy, or so there are so many different ways to help and approach someone, whether it's coaching, therapy, and whatnot. So yeah.
Cool. I mean, yeah, it's, you got to look at both sides of it. So thank you for the honesty there, because, not everything works. And obviously we have stuff happening to us all the time. And then when you bite off more than you could chew, sometimes you don't get the results. And if you're not careful as a coach, probably, and even as a client, you probably have to, you could go backwards, right? So you have to kind of watch out and have some sensory acuity around that to be able to, redirect and guide in the right direction when the person is ready and wants to be ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now you have, so you've come from an interesting background. You've got the whole corporate thing going on, and you realize that there was more to life than that. And so you travel a bit now, right? Kind of like what I do, right? Aren't you like in Mexico or something?
I'm in Mexico at the moment. Yeah, I've been here for just over 2 months. I was, so I technically live in London. I'm half English, half German with this, born and raised in Singapore, lived in Australia for 10 years. And so that maybe explains my confused accent. But I love to travel. And I think that's been embedded in my life from an early age. And that's important to me. That's how I like to live my life. So yeah, I've been in Mexico, Portugal, Greece, which is where you are, and the UK, many other places, but it's
multi-continental. Yeah. I love it. And you're actually going to be in Thailand. Tell us about why you're going to Thailand. What's going on there? Because I know you have something kind of exciting that you're doing, and I want you to talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm going to be in Phuket in Thailand, which is an island in the west coast of Thailand. I'm running my first wellness and transformational retreat there at this beautiful boutique retreat location called Lan Sabai. And it's kind of a dream come true. I love attending retreats. I've been to like 20, 30 retreats in my life and different types of retreats. And I love bringing people together. I love the coaching side of things. And so this is a dream come true to to bring this all together and host my first retreat with, I'm co-hosting it with another lady that runs the retreat. And so yeah, that's going to be from the 3rd to the 10th of December of this year.
Wow, nice. It's a week long. What are people going to get out of that?
So this is intended for people who maybe are lacking clarity and direction in their life and really want to feel good on the inside and outside. So coming out of the retreat, they will feel clear about what they want their year, but also their life to look like. And that can be life in general or their career. They will also be able to address and identify anything that's holding them back and work through that. We create and manifest things from our subconscious. So identifying what is going on in your subconscious and what limiting beliefs or patterns might be popping up will help you identify that, work through it. And so we'll be doing things like breath work and meditation, but also really clear intention setting and different workshops to help through that. And the greatest thing that I love about retreats is the community and the energy. So coming out of it, a lot of the times I have made new friends, new collaborations, potential business opportunities. So there's also that intangible aspect that they'll get out of it too. And feel great because the food is going to be amazing. It's all nutritious, gluten, vegan. We're also doing something that's really unique that I've never seen before. And Lisa, who runs the retreat, she has this frequency therapy machine that's used by NASA. And it essentially sends frequency through your body to identify where you might have disturbances in your body, but also it tells you with such precise detail, like what foods you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating. And so we can then tailor your meals based on that. So
I love it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Plus the food in Thailand and the people in Thailand are just incredible anyway. So That's great. How do people find out a little bit more about that event, more about you?
So they can either go to my website, coachingbysusanna.com. So it's coaching, BY, and then SUSANNA.com/retreats, or Instagram, the same handle, coaching by Susanna, or my LinkedIn, which is Susanna Kenyon Muir. I'll send them to you because my surname is a little bit hard to spell.
There's a lot going on there. But that's fine. So I'll link them in the show notes, everybody. Any final thoughts that you have for our audience here?
Do what you love to do. And I've always been a big believer that if you do what you love, the money will follow. And, figure out what success is to you and build a life around that.
Yep. Build a whole ecosystem around it is what I want to take that a little bit further, because it's not just setting a goal, but it's building the people, the environment, the ecosystem, the accountability, whatever it takes around you to make sure that you can sustain that goal, that lifestyle, that purpose. So, Susanna, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I can't wait to see you next time. We'll have you back again. But everybody else who's listening, remember what I always say: never give up your power in your health, your wealth, or your time. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Wealth Architect Podcast. Take care.
You've been listening to the Wealth Architect Podcast with Mark Yegge. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Share and tell your friends. See you soon.